Yes, sir. Good to go.
Okay, hello everyone. This is Bala Ramadurai. Hello from Pune, India. And we have our teaching assistant who is the man in control of the show today. We have our teaching assistant, the man in control of the show today.
Hi, guys. Good evening. Welcome to the Hangout session, everyone.
Okay, it's great to have all of you here. And I saw a few questions and all the enthusiasm in the groups, and uh, and also the fact that we are live on this course and we are able to see you face to face, sort of. I would still like to have you face to face. That's also one of the directions that we want to go with this course. We will see announcements in that direction as well. So first and foremost, some administrative announcement, so to speak. I've heard a lot of you talk about the transcripts. I appreciate the enthusiasm about the love that you're showing us in terms of we want to we really want to read what you're saying also, as well as speak. So that's one thing that's I would promise you that next week on you will have the transcripts. Yay for that. So we'll definitely have that, don't worry, we have you covered there. Then the second thing that really wanted to cover in this was one of the learners in the forum actually pointed out that in the assignment there was this question on how might we, HMW for short. So that seems to be miraculously, magically missing from my lectures. So it is a very, very good point. Experienced teachers would say, I caught you there, and I was testing whether you're listening or not. But no, this was a genuine mistake. Usually in my live class, I cover this as an activity. And since we're not having activities for a recording session, this got missed out and I completely missed it out. Apologies for that. So here's a bonus feature for you live. I will definitely cover that part a little bit. I have about 3 slides for that. Very, very quick overview or snippet on what is this, how might we all about, and where does this figure in the whole the first module, which is empathize. So I would like to share my screen. I will do it in a moment now. Um, and the only person I can ask for feedback whether they can see it is Siddharth. Siddharth, nod if you can see it.
Yes, sir. They can see
Okay,
it.
okay, great. So this is from a let's with imagine the character that Curio that all of you have seen in your in the presentation in the videos. We imagine that he has drawn something like this for a student, a persona of a student who's 10 years old, Akanksha, and from Pune. Uh, the activity that Curio was tracking was that she is going to play video games on her mobile device, game on her mobile device. So this is the activity that we are tracking. We're doing a customer journey map. So the step one of this was Akanksha comes home from school. This is the before, as you can imagine. And in step two, she finishes her homework quickly. In step 3, she reaches for her mobile device and powers it up. She's extremely happy doing that. So that is the first before activity that you saw with Mrs. Avni in my video as well. Here you see it for another customer for another problem. The second set of steps, this is during the activity, which is playing the game. You see that she plays the game from a previously saved position. So they usually have this feature of being able to save where you left off, and that's where this game starts off. So that's the next step. Another activity that Curio noticed was that this Akanksha lady, she snacks while playing the game. Okay, so that's an important insight for Curio to track. And also, the third step in this activity was that she finished her dinner while playing. This came from the parents when we were studying the case. Parents said that, when the kid is engaged on a mobile phone, it's a great way to finish off the dinner quickly, and the kid doesn't even protest if you give vegetables, which the kid probably detests, doesn't like. Just finish that off. So that's step 6 of this customer journey map. Step 7 is you have Akanksha. Oops, we've gone to the previous step. Sorry. Step 7 is when she stops playing, she seems to be watching TV. Okay, and guess what she watches in TV? The game that she was playing. The ads are what show up on TV, or it's the cartoon version of the game. It's some sort of version of that game as well. So that's one more observation that was made. Lastly, towards the end, she powers down the device. She's not too happy about it. The next day at school, she flaunts her achievements to her friends. She is very, very happy, saying that, you know what, I covered level 2 and I just finished level 2 and I'm now on level 3. How cool is that? So this is her customer journey map as we detailed it. So now, how do we draw the how might we question? So what is how might we question, and what is it for? You will see, I will show it to you with examples. So Curio went back to his boss and asked, so now what do I do with this case study? Boss says, you have to frame 2 or 3 HMW or how might we questions. This gives you the end result of your project. So this is a project that we're able to track this person, Akanksha in this case, the persona, and the idea of how might we question or questions, typically 2 to 3 questions, is to give you the end result of your project. So that's the main thing. So here are some examples. So this is like a goal for our project. How might we reduce the time of playing on the mobile phone? So that's a straightforward goal. You just measure the amount of time that the kid plays on the mobile, track that. If you reduce, you're successful in your project. If not, you have work to do. You have to. This is your overarching goal of the project. The next how might we that we could frame is, wait a second, I noticed a very distracting behavior, a very let's say not so good behavior. This is they're snacking while playing on a mobile, and that's mindless snacking. They sort of eat without thinking. There's no tasting going on. It's just some snacks that keeps going into the mouth. Maybe we want to reduce that, a mindless snacking, and we want to give healthy snacks and get them off that probably will also get them off the mobile. So that could be a second goal. And the third could be, well, if you take them outdoors, how might we encourage playing outdoors? Now, let them play outdoors. We'll measure the time that they're playing outdoors. That will, we are thinking, would automatically reduce the amount of playing on the mobile device. That also encourages social behavior and what so on and so forth. So these are the goals of the project. We are not here highlighting a solution. If you look at all these three, they are challenging, they're motivating. Plus, we have some ready-made solutions in our mind. Plus, they're still challenging enough that it makes you think out of whatever solutions you already have. So sort of this gives you an outline of how to head. What is the are my ideas inclined towards that, or is it going away from that? So these are some things that are really really useful in at the end of the how might we I'm sorry, the empathize phase itself. This can be inputs for your next coming module, which is analyze. So I would strongly recommend that you do frame a few sentences. Try it many times, because this is not easy to do. It seems easy when you see it like this done, but in my experience, when I've done it, it seems a bit tough. Discuss with your team, discuss with some stakeholders, trying to see how to actually get this going. So I thought I'd share this with you, and because it's very important for our projects that we take up in design thinking, because this sort of highlights what is the main objective. Okay. So, Siddharth, I did see a lot of questions coming up from our learners on the platform. So, I would like it to be. I mean, they can't come online, I suppose. So, let's do it back and forth as if they are asking. So, you're going to
Right,
have to
right,
represent
right.
the
I
community.
I will ask the questions on behalf of our learners community, sir. Right.
Okay, great.
Right. Here's the first question that interested me, sir. So, uh, design thinking is such a powerful framework for problem solving. What is its potential in it solving problems that the researchers formulate to further their own field of research? So, this was asked by Dr. N.S. Narahari.
Okay.
Right.
So essentially, the objective of design thinking is to get under the skin of a customer or a user, of somebody who would be benefited by this method. So it's actually design thinking as a methodology is not too focused on what industry it's used in, or what specific area you're using it in, or it doesn't really worry so much about that, because eventually it's just a sequence of steps that the designers used to use, again, all across disciplines, and we have sort of minded outside their world to see how to use it. So largely the steps are exactly the same, no matter if you use it in a research solving phase, if you're using it in research, the place you start out with, you don't know have a real problem, but you know that these people are using it for that. So it's starts with a human. So if you think it's going to be beneficial for a human being, that's where it all starts. Now, having said that, for basic sciences, if you think, I'm doing fundamental research, fundamental science, I really don't know yet who is my beneficiary here. Who is it going to benefit? I'm just trying to unearth something out of there. Probably in that case, I would find it difficult to start with who is going to benefit out of this. Suppose it's an audience that you're going to pitch this idea to, saying that I need funding for this. Then they become your audience, saying what is it that they look for. Maybe that I'm just extrapolating what it is. So the basic premise of using design thinking is, like I said in my very first lecture, is human centric design. So this is starts with a human being, and you go back to that human being. So start and end is back in the, you can do it multiple times, it's iterative, you can do that. uh, so what I would suggest is just hang on till the analyze and the solve phase. Maybe it's useful for you in research folks to just focus on the analyze and solve bit, if you really don't know who is your eventual user. But I would think, if even on a science mission, even if you're on a space mission, if you're on a geology mission, I would think eventually you're going to have to benefit humanity. There is some overarching larger purpose. Once you figure that out, then you can extrapolate it to module 1 and module 4, which has to do with human beings. So sort of my long-winded answer for a question like that in the with the research folks.
Right, sir. Thank you very much for the reply, Bala sir.
Yep.
I have another question for you from the student community
Okay.
that it says how to identify the research gap and use design thinking for the purpose of identify solution based on qualitative data.
Okay, good question. I would think that it's rather tricky to use qualitative data here, and the one methodology that I've come across is Disney's own, like the Walt Disney Company's own methodology, where they do use qualitatives. Is to see in their theme parks. This I've heard it from a person who works in Disney. Is in their theme parks, when they find that there is a problem, and the theater artists in a theme park, when they stage their shows, are cognizant of a problem. They know that there is a problem. They just don't start working on a solution immediately. Then, but they actually wait and see how many times this has occurred and how many people are really affected by this. So they just take a piece of paper, like this, and keep scoring using a pen, and just score 1 2 3 whenever they see a problem. So this is something that I've heard about you being used in quantitatives. Now if you want to get quantitative at the later stage again, that's something that you could do in the analysis phase. There is a method where you there is potential for using quantitative is it quantitative or qualitative, Siddharth?
It is qualitative, sir.
Oh, okay, okay. So then it's an easier one because all the most of the insights are qualitative and instinct based. Some of them are instinct. We call them insights. Each of these truths that you get out of users, they're all instinct. But if you have a quantitative basis to this, then my Disney story stands as well. That you can actually note it down if there are too many people facing the exact same problem. Then you know that this is a serious issue and you have to take it up to go to the next phases to solve it. So quantitative can be used this way. Qualitatives, the method is all about qualitatives. Particularly when the research part I already answered is probably if it has to do with humans, if it is something that you observe among us, say a certain target group in with children, with commuters, with ladies riding a bike, like in my example, I would, and you had to do more further research on what's the kind of material that you will definitely find that qualitatives also help. So do quantitative, so that you're sure that this is a problem worth solving and that it's worth your time, worth your effort to spend so much time on design thinking methodology to get your answers to that, get your users satisfied with that. What you have to keep in mind that design thinking or any problem solving methodology like this actually takes a lot of time and effort, not only from yourself but from your teams as well. There will be multiple people involved in this. Their times are also equally valuable, so you have to keep that factor in your mind. Is it something that's worth of your time? Are you compassionate, are you passionate about this problem enough that you want to take it up and run with it? Because after a while your steam runs out, then you just leave it there and it's piling dust. So you might want to consider this also. This is from my experience. So every time I find that something that I'm really worried about or I'm really want some change somewhere, then I go after that kind of a problem. So same applies for research as well.
Right, right. Thank you, Bala sir. Thank you very much for answering those questions.
You're
And I
welcome.
see a lot of questions coming up live from our students on the
Okay,
YouTube page.
great.
So one of our student, Arpit Gupta, I think might have missed the starting 5 minutes of your class. He has a question: what is HMW here?
Okay, so you might want to go back and check this video. I think this will be available after this, right? The recording is available.
Yeah, yes, yes.
So just
It
hang
will
on.
be
We'll end the call, and I don't know how long it takes between this end of the call and when it's live available for your viewing. But when you do, please go and check back the first was it 7 or 8 minutes, Siddharth, I think, right?
Yes, first 7, 10 minutes we can count first 10 minutes.
Okay, so first 10 minutes, I probably missed that out. So that's where I covered the how might we or the HMW.
That's correct, sir. Then we have a question coming from Deepak Khandelwal,
Okay.
who asks, which is the best book for design thinking?
Okay. There are plenty and plenty of resources. In fact, I was scared that if I give you too many resources, then you'll probably get overwhelmed and not start at all. So, but the few books that I like and I've read and I've used it is one is called Change by Design by Tim Brown. Tim Brown is a co-founder of IDEO.com. We live. I suppose we should have links below the comment section itself, or we could share it with you on the forum as well. So this is a great book. It has lots of examples. IDEO.org is a great platform where they share the method, they share case studies, but it's the focus is on social entrepreneurship in IDEO.org, IDEO.org. These are great places to start. Apart from that, I will in my syllabus document I had written down another book by a professor of Wharton, Professor Carl Ulrich. I can also leave a link of that book that's available online for free. Here the professor has kindly released the book for everybody to read and use. It's very practical, usable. I learnt a lot from that book as well. So books aside, and there are many other books. I mean, we can keep listing out the books. But my tip to you, and this is Siddharth can also equally vouch for this, is apply it on something that you care about and see the results for yourself. This is more than the book that you will ever need. The second one, again, Siddharth will vouch for this as well, is to teach it to somebody that you know and you care about, and that is another great way to learn design thinking. Actually, you could replace the word design thinking and put another method there, and both these work as well. Okay, so first is to use your own projects, use your own application in real life, help somebody with this method, and share it with somebody else that would love to listen to that. And the learnings are permanent, and several bodies of research say this that this is the best way to learn by practice and learn by doing. Okay, so apart from the books,
Correct.
of course, we will leave the links for you. Go ahead and make yourself aware of what is written in the book. They're written very well. So that's one thing. And lastly, shameless plug, I am also in the process of writing my own book. It should be out hopefully soon than later. So that's one more resource that will be available. I will make sure that NPTEL students do get early access to this book. Okay,
Right. Thank you, Bala sir. Thank you very much for
you're
answering
very
that.
welcome.
We have our next question coming from the username Mastermind Anirban. He
Okay.
says, as part of the analyze phase, is it advisable to leverage industry standard concepts such as Lean, Six Sigma to uncover bottlenecks, or is there a specific methodology that is more tailored to DT, that is design thinking?
Oh, good question. You've jumped the gun already. Okay, so week two material is not out yet, but you already sort of can foresee what's coming up next. So, yes, analyze phase is about unearth. So, what you will hear in the empathize phase more is from, in my mind, a very surface level need, which means that you will what you see, you will perceive, you will interview, you will gather whatever it is that the user seems to be going through. You will gather a list of these problems, but that is not the end of the story. the real latent needs, the underlying needs are really important, and those usually are unsaid. It's for you, the design thinker, to unearth these unsaid, unmet, excuse me, unsaid needs. So in the analyze phase, you can use whatever methods you want. Lean, there are so many methods out there. We'll be covering a few. Those I find are the simplest to learn, simplest for you to apply. We will cover that next week. But if so, there's something that you already know about and you think is useful to uncover the unsaid needs, um, so be it. Go with it. So that's what I would say is useful for you. Then go ahead and do that. I'm not, I'm again, I'm very agnostic, and so is design thinking is quite flexible in that regard. You can use whatever you want, as long as you find out, the objective is to find out what the unmet needs are, unsaid needs are.
Thank you, Bala sir. Thank you for answering that. We have a comment coming from Murugan K, who says, Professor, to add on, there are two kinds of business, product and service. Make people want things and make things people want. Design thinking takes care of business. Thinking takes care of business, make things people want. You have
Well,
anything to say about this, sir?
nice comment. I like the poetic nature of the comment. Yes, you're right. That is the business side of things. I would think, in my mind, this is totally my opinion, that making people things that they want and making them want what you're making is entirely, according to me, very humble opinion, is that is totally from a marketing standpoint, from a business standpoint. But I think all of this finally stems down to what is it that will make a change in people's lives. I often say that, and I've also heard experts say this, is that people do change based on what they have around themselves. So the environment changes people, and people change their environment also. It's sort of dual end to this whole thing. So I'm not sure if it's completely, you can say, rule out and say this method is for design services or for products, or only for things that are not there. Even in existing processes, in existing products, existing services. In fact, it didn't be a business. It could be at home. You're trying to help your I don't know, loved one, or a kid figure out something in maths. You're trying to empathize with them, saying, here's so many courses, so many deadlines going on there. You really have to get under their skin to know that, oh my god, they have so much of homework piled up, and this is why my kid's acting weird. So this is nothing to do with the service or a product. It's just trying to understand what the other person is going through. For some people it's natural, they figure this out very easily. For some people like me, I need a method, I need to go through a step process to figure this out. Okay, so I don't think you can delineate and say this is only for businesses, or only for such and such person, or it's such and such environment. It works only for Western countries and not for Eastern. No, it's just a thinking method. It's just giving you triggers, putting you in the shoes of another person. How do you see it from their eyes?
Right. Thank you, Bala sir, for that words. We have our next question coming from Himanshi Srivastava. Hello, sir. I'm doing research in how design thinking can help architecture students in developing their skills. Can you throw some light on it?
Wow, architecture, huh? Okay. I will confess I have no background in architecture. Neither do I know anybody who's in architecture. I know of the field. architecture, and I'm obviously sitting in a building, so I enjoy the products of an architect. So I would think this is take it with a pinch of salt from a guy who knows nothing about architecture. Um, uh, is it's still something that you will have to go figure out for, is, the voice of the market, voice of what the people need in a certain environment with your constraints, given this kind of area. I'm just making it up. Okay, so like I said, already put a disclaimer saying, I'm not an architect. So maybe it's the area that's there's a constraint. There is people who need a certain type of house. There are probably all tall people in a house, or they're probably all short people in a house. Like, for example, I usually get bugged when the fan ceiling, and the ceiling fan is quite low. So to me, they have not considered me. When I raise my hand, it hits the fan, and it's not a good situation to be in. So things like this is actually a very humanistic way to look at design. So it's not about those lines on the paper, but it's about what kind of human is going to be in this building, occupy this building, viewing it from their point of view, and trying to make changes to whatever you do, and seeing how to change this whole paradigm in what you're doing. It could be a room design, it could be a window design. But I always understand that you have a lot of constraints, you have a lot of conflicts in trying to in trying to fix up stuff, in trying to get things working. You might have problems, uh, but uh, uh, but that's what it is. It's part of the game. It's And you will see in your next module that constraints are good, conflicts are good. So what a human wants and what you can deliver technically, if they're exactly opposite, diametrically opposite, well and good. You have a great challenge in your hands, and we will see how to solve that. So the next subsequent steps actually help you with that.
Thank you, Bala sir. Thank you for answering that.
You're welcome.
We have our next question coming from Girish Hidaduki. He says, "Hi sir, what is the difference between customer journey mapping and value stream mapping, as both are related to helping the customer?"
Okay. Well, I'm not particularly, saying that customer journey map is the only thing. There are many ways to do this. In fact, what I've highlighted to you is probably a very basic version of customer journey mapping. I have seen versions of it where there are distinct 4 or 5 blocks under which you can, like, for example, I think awareness is the first one, and the second one is joining it, third one is using it, fourth one is exiting. So I have seen a version like that. People are taught about this. I have heard of emotional mapping. So you actually map what kind of emotions are going through in a plus. When you have somebody who is happy, they're going through a negative emotion, you draw it as something that's going down. If value stream mapping seems more useful than customer journey mapping in finding out what is it these people are going through, so be it. Drop customer journey mapping and go after it. So I'm not so serious about, no, in first module of this you absolutely have to use customer. No, that's not it. What the objective is very clear. I want to know what the other human being is going through. What is the experience? How can I help this person get over that painful experience or traumatic experience? And we are very bad at articulating our own pain points clearly to the last point, very clearly, apparently. So apparently we cannot convey it very well. So we need other people to sort of help that out, help us out with this. So that's how humanity works. We help out each other. Okay. So customer journey mapping sort of gives you a visual representation. Suppose you want to convey this to another team member who has absolutely no idea what you're working on, then this serves as a great visual tool as well. A very simple one, like I walked you through Akanksha. case, it probably took me 5 minutes. You probably understood what this person is going through very quickly. So this is a great tool to convey that. Now, if value stream mapping can, I've heard of this method, but I'm not so sure. But if that can cover the same thing, um, be it, so be it. Be my guest. In fact, post it on the forum. Let us all learn from that also. Saying that I used it in this for this particular type of users, and this is how it helped me. Go ahead and share it in the forum. We'd love to learn new things from you guys. Um, yeah, this is why we have this forum and this hangout.
Thank you, Bala sir. Thank you for those words over the forum as well. Okay, now we have a question coming from Vikas. Is design thinking beneficial to the creation of marketing sales strategy, or is it predominantly used to figure out the need for product in the market or for creation innovation of products?
Marketing, sales, and what is the other one?
Okay, I'll repeat the question for you, sir, again.
Yes, please.
Is design thinking is design thinking beneficial to the creation of marketing strategies, marketing in bracket sales,
Okay.
or is it to figure out the need for a product in the market or for creation innovation of products?
Okay. Um, I'm going to give you what is called a consultant answer. It depends. Okay, so it depends is the most famous consultant answer. The reason I chose this path is because it really depends on whatever you do. I do teach the same, absolutely the same course to marketing folks. I do teach it to human resources, operations, sales, engineers, technologists, designers, and entrepreneurs. Siddharth is one of them. So so the it can actually be used anywhere. It's not a magic a formula that suddenly creates new products, suddenly creates something that's not ever there. Still, the thinking, the heavy lifting, the going and finding out really what is it that people are going through, what is it that you want to help them out with, what really is going on under so they're saying something, oh, power cut, but not really. I want, if my devices are working, I don't really care about whether the power cut is there or not. So I want you to go really go under that. So if it is in marketing, and people don't know enough, and there is a why don't people don't how do we get to know, I mean, what is the purpose of marketing? Get into that. What are the humans behind this? What is, where do how do I get them in the center? If this can help you with that, definitely the design thinking is really helpful with that. The next part is it only to do with product creation? Absolutely not. It can be used with services. It can be used, like I highlighted earlier as well. It can be for figuring things out at your home. It can be figuring things with your pet, maybe. Design thinking is not only human centered. It can be a living being centered as well. So it absolutely works anywhere. Or is it only to do with innovation and creativity? uh, Again, it's if it leads you, in my opinion, in innovation is when it can be of use in a business where it starts making where the invention part, where you made something, actually starts generating a revenue cash for you, is when it becomes innovative. Like Edison didn't invent the bulb, he merely innovated on it, meaning the bulb was there for 60 years when he was there. He made sure that the environment is good enough that the bulb can actually fit. There's one right behind me. That it goes. The environment is ready for my invention. That's when it became innovative. Okay, so how did he know that? Because he knew that the humans back then used gas lighting, gas lines. Now, how might we actually get electricity into their homes? This is the question that he had. And Edison went on and found out that I have to think about generation first before I can get electricity to the home, because there was no electricity back then. So he started working on that. So you can see how the backward process. But all this while, He was thinking about how do I help this human have a better light than the gas fired lamps that were there. So sort of starting with human centricity and then move on to product centricity, and then the innovation came in later. So put human at the center, human at the center. We have changed from heliocentricity to human centricity.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Bala, sir. We have a question coming from Vishnu Kumar. There's
Okay.
always a problem where a perfect design or an ideal design could only be provided under hypothetical cases. What's the best way to design anything to almost attain an ideal design? Ideal design.
Yeah, ideal design. So you've and you clearly said it's hypothetical as well. So we do use this concept of ideality in a method that, but we haven't covered it in this course. But I would think that ideal design, again, if you do come for a face-to-face course, I can explain it to you in detail. Very quickly, an ideal design is something that doesn't take any resources but does the function, helps the human being. Okay, resources like money, it's free. Resources like electricity or energy doesn't use any of that. So in that way it's ideal. How ideal designs are useful, or ideal in this sense are useful, is that it provides you a sort of path, a north star of sorts, to take you to a destination. So this is ideality. We are never going to get there. This is the infinity that you can see, but you can never attain. But it like, and again, north star, let's use that metaphor. Ideal designs could guide you to a certain solution, but you can never reach the north star. Like people used it for navigation long time ago. It's the same story here. Ideal design where the functionality which you want to attain with the users is their need is solved, their need is attained. But we don't want to use up any resources. We don't want them to go through a learning curve. Those are some attributes of ideal designs. So hypothetical question gets an hypothetical answer. So, but we do use this method. I mean, it's not absolutely unheard of. There is a method which we'll cover in module 3. It's a Russian-based method. In one of those modules, which we don't cover in this course, but in one of those modules, we definitely use that as a way to guide you. Okay, so that's my answer to your question. Thanks again. Nice question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, we have a question here from Nitin Kurian.
Okay.
Hi,
Hey,
sir.
Nitin.
If design thinking is the technology created to solve human-centric problems, what is the scientific principle on which design thinking has been built?
Oh, Nitin, you're going to get it from me when I see you, man. Okay, Nitin is one of the persons in our course, so he is he so I'm introducing him to. That's why I made this comment. Okay, so good question. Scientific principles. Okay, largely this is empirical. People have used made it a scientific study and probably researched on this. I'm saying probably because I'm not aware of this, but but the entire method and what we use, what we say, everything is empirical. Empirical meaning there is just anecdotal evidence. We have lots and lots of case studies. Uh, I would say it's rooted in practice. It's coming from practice. It's coming from the designer world. So it's going to have a lot of subjectivity in it. And in any course that people use, they use a lot of empirical examples, anecdotal examples. It's case study driven, is case driven, rather than say that x plus y equal to z kind of formulaic. You probably not find it in the design thinking world. So it is more a methodology, a guideline to help you with a certain functionality in mind, rather than a hardcore science saying you do this anywhere in the part of the globe, or in the universe, this is how it works. No, probably not. You would probably not find hard scientific evidence like that. But I'll be amazed. I mean, you guys can go and find it in the scientific literature. I'm sure there's at least some research groups trying to, find out what is going on. So that's there.
Thank you, Bala sir. We have our next question coming from Himanshi Srivastava.
Okay.
Sir, what is the difference between creative thinking and design thinking?
Okay. Good one. Okay. Design thinking comes from the fact is that this is comes from the designer world. Okay, designers have always used this methodology, and we have abstracted what they do in their work, and how they have been successful with their methods. Okay, so design thinking has its origin with that. Now, if you remember, I covered a case study of Professor John Arnold with this whole alien stuff and all that. Back then, it was called creative engineering. Okay, so you go figure out where does creative thinking stop, and where does design thinking come in. Okay, so in fact, in my introductory videos also, you would see that I quote Lord Buddha with the four methods that with the four steps that he uses, and we see a lot of parallels between that as well. So now, I think that the creative thinking part of it is by its truest, strictest definition, is that you come up with something that's not already there. That's how some scholars have defined it. That there's a newer combination of something that's there. You bring it up. That's called creativity. In design thinking, we do it also. In the solve phase, we do come up with some ideas which are not there earlier, but you're free to go and get something that worked somewhere else and bring it here, or some other group has done it, and probably if not for your particular target users, you could also bring that. So I'm not sure where one ends and where the other one starts. I think it's just nuanced. Like I said again, John, the origins of design thinking is in creative engineering, which Professor John Arnold of MIT slash, I think he was in MIT and Harvard, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So yeah, so he started off in this in the 1950s, and he called it creative engineering back then. So to me, it's one and the same.
Right. Thank you, Bala sir. Our next question is, can there be any other emotional stage during customer journey mapping other than happy or sad?
Okay, good one. And I just checked the chat also. He's used emojis. It is because of this very reason that it's very easy to put a smile, sad face or a happy face there. It doesn't take too much. Just put there and that's it, or that way. But you can be as detailed as possible. You can put angry, frustrated. In fact, at some point of time, I used to even teach navarasas, which are the nine emotions as classified by Indian fine arts. You would find that in drama. Navarasas are the nine emotions, and yeah, you can look it up online. The nine emotions as used by fine arts people in dances and in drama can very well be used here, saying that he's very angry, he's very peaceful, he's disgusted, you can happy, and same thing also. So I would say it doesn't have to be limited to happy and sad, but you can make it anything you want. Now, what are you going to do with that is my interesting question to you, back to you, is now that it's here, the person is angry. What do you plan to do with that? That's more interesting to me, and that's more useful for your user than classifying it as angry. So now, in a, say, a customer call situation, like I saw a forum student ask in the forum about customer feedback. How do I improve it? Lots of times the emotion that you may have come across in customer support is anger. They're angry, that's why they're calling you most of the times. Okay, now how do you deal with that? So the shanta rasa, the quiet, tranquil emotion, is what you need to employ. So there are two aspects to this. One is the functionality part of it, where what is the function to be achieved, and the other part is the emotional aspect of it. How do I tackle the emotion? So you sort of very at a surface level touch these two in the customer journey map. You can be as detailed as possible. Normally this is a 8 to 12 week course that we can actually do, and it's a workshop more than a consumption based course. So I would urge you to keep on this, and I would like to see all of you face to face, most of you, some of you face to face. And so hang on, and we may arrange that very soon, and tune to this
Definitely.
space. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sir. So we have a question coming from Sujit Devkar.
Mhm.
Hello, Professor. What simple and creative exercises can we use to improve team's creative confidence?
Well, there are some studies on creativity itself. I'm not going to dwell into that so much, but I would say, uh, to start off, I have done this in my workshops in the past. Give them anagrams of positive emotions. Apparently, you just write a word, a positive word, like happiness, okay, and enlarge, and then tear it in single individual words, individual letters, and just give it to them. Let them arrange it to the actual word, and apparently that subconsciously it can get into their psyche that, hey, happiness is there, so I'm going to be happy for this session. So if you are in a session, then this helps. Another great motivator in creative workshops like this is chocolate. Okay, now chocolate is great to, one, to give you instant energy. Two is it has dopamine, which is a novelty chemical, so that also augments your creative skill. Now I don't own any stocks in chocolate making companies, so I'm not advocating that, but it helps. I love chocolate, so I eat it sometimes if my son allows it. But these are few things. Just be happy in conducting your interaction, and get them out of their. Be very friendly with your teammates, and get them out of their comfort zone, and talk to them nicely, and they'll work wonders. Okay. Now that being said, if a person is shut out, saying, "Oh, what use is this? This is never going to work," then it's rather difficult, because in adult learning is very different from how children operate. So in adults, once they shut out, it's very difficult for somebody to open up. So if they already show some signs of creativity, then it's much easier. They're open. Don't even have to be the person who's creative, but if they're a little open to trying out new things, then these are your people. Start with them, and they will, once the masses are in, then as they say, the late adopters and the laggards, late majority and laggards, they will also join in. So that is my attempt at answering your question. Chocolates, some anagrams which work, and work with people who are very, positively charged up. Put them all into teams that sort of seem like lacking in motivation.
Right. Thank you, sir. Chocolates is a definite yes. Okay. We have a question coming from Girish again. I am also following other online courses from NPTEL, but design thinking course is different than other course. If design thinking is applied to online learning, can you explain a brief about it? I think it is the
Wow, this is going in recursion. Okay. How do you think we created the character called Curio? It's entirely it's coming from emotional mapping of students like yourself.
correct.
So it is an application of design thinking on itself. This particular course format also came through many iterations. People like Siddharth who have given feedback, people like Nitin who is on the call, Supra who's also on the call. uh, so much of feedback, so much of goodwill, so much of love all through these years has improved this course by leaps and bounds. The first version to this, if I compare, it's definitely improved, but still there's a lot of learning. There is still I'm still looking forward to this forum for feedback, for gaining more and more experience and making it useful for you guys, for people who are there, and in the process also learn about how it is that this message of design thinking about helping other people actually be communicated simply, and but still be serious in taking the message across. So it's still a long journey ahead, and I think it's been a good journey so far as well. So anyway, thank you. I take that as a compliment, that you think it's good. I think the professors otherwise are also doing a great job. The other professors in NPTEL, they have a full time job and they're doing this in recording. It's not trivial, as I found it out myself, to be in front of a camera with no class in front of you, but just this black silicon piece in front of you, and talking to it. It's a different way of doing things. So be empathetic to them as well, as you have been to me. So great, thank you for showering all your love and affection, and being on top of the classes. So I hope that you continue with week 2, week 3, and week 4. And I would urge you to also take the final exam, if you can, because I have a few application oriented questions as well, which you will find useful for design thinking studies as well. So I would urge you to do sign up for that as well.
Thank you, Bala sir. I think we are almost done with the time. We can take one last question if you would like to.
Sure, we can take one last question. Yes.
Yes. So this comes from Ashish Sharma. Is
Okay.
design thinking flexible? I am asking this because everybody has a different understanding of design thinking. Just like people teach it their own way, and is it okay to be flexible?
Oh yes, totally. Yeah. Uh, I think that the essence of design thinking is to help another human being. That's it. To me, this it can't get any more complex or simpler than this. Uh, Whatever method works for you, if you after using this method several times, if you think there is some other way to do it, some other steps that will help you, go for it. I mean, eventually we want it to be beneficial for you, for somebody whom you are trying to help. So if it's a 3 step method that you think is simple, go ahead and do it. If you think this method of 4 steps, they're delineating it like this, helps you, by all means go ahead and do it. And I think there's no authority who's saying that no, design thinking has to have 3 steps, X, Y, and Z, and that's it, or 5 steps like Stanford design school has said it. No, and you will find several versions. That's the beauty of it. Also, is that you will find several of this. It's just like I mean, car driving or swimming. You have first time you do it, you somebody teaches you, somebody coaches you in a certain way. After which you start developing your own style. You hold the steering in a certain way. Your mirror is adjusted in a certain way. Um, and the functionality is to take you from A to B unharmed, and the people around you. So this is the only functionality of a car. And turn on the music at full volume, low volume, whatever. I mean, it's up to you the way you keep it yourself. So this method is no different also. So tweak it the way you want, change it the way you want. But here is our recommendation that has worked very well. So yeah, that's how I would do it. I'm not a stickler to 4-step method or a 5-step method.
Right. Thank you, Bala sir. Thank you for answering that. I think we are almost done with our time as well. So,
Okay.
I really wished we had another. We could extend our time right here, but unfortunately, we've already given our slot to IIT Madras that will only take from 4 to 5. So we have to stop this session here.
Oh, no worries. We will
Yeah,
have
we
another session
session.
next week, 4 p.m. Same day, same time, 4 o'clock. We will be there. We'll be looking forward to your questions, and we'd love to take you. And use the forum as much as you want. I mean, we are very happy to see so much of interest in design thinking. I'll be very honest with you. Person to person, our expectations were when we announced the course that we would have about 100 or 200 people sign up on this course. Now we have about 4,400 plus, and this is a complete surprise to us. So we are very happy that there are so many who are interested in this course. Now we would like to see that you are also benefited out of this and you take it forward. You also tell other people about the how what you have learned and how you applied it and how useful you found it, and teach them the technique and let them also try and use it the way you think is useful. Okay. So yeah, we have next week as well. We'll meet at 4 p.m. Indian Standard Time next week as well.
Right. Thank you, Bala sir. So
Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you everyone for being online.
I'd like to assure all my fellow learners that all the unanswered questions on this page will be answered in the forum shortly. Please do not feel disheartened about this thing. Thank you guys. Thank you for being live and watching it. Bye bye.
Okay. Okay, it was fun. Okay, see you then. Bye. Bye bye.